What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. Moving on to Pelicans Kings. The Kings are 9-4 in their last 13 games, and they've beat a bunch of good teams in that span. They beat the Thunder, they beat the Cavs, they went into LA and beat the Lakers, blew them out. Went into Dallas and blew out the Mavs. Went into Minnesota and blew out the Timberwolves. Then they had that wild 20-plus point comeback against Golden State to win on the Malik Monk game winner. They even beat the Nuggets. That was as impressive a 9 wins in 13 span as you can find around the league right now. But the 4 losses, they lost to the Clippers on a back-to-back after the Warriors game, and then 3 losses to the Pelicans. And it's interesting to me because after last night, obviously the third loss. And it's interesting to me because it's an interesting example of basketball matchups. Because the Pelicans have been a pretty mediocre team. Just lost to the Bulls last. They just lost 2 games in Utah. They have been pretty mediocre, right? They're 12-10 this year. They've had the CJ McCollum injury, but there's a case to be made that they've been better without him just in terms of overall point of attack defense with Dyson Daniels in the starting lineup, right? And what's interesting to me is how does a team that's that mediocre have the number of a Kings team that's dominated most of the good teams in the league? And to me, that's where this is why I always talk about basketball being more art than science. This is why you could never just assign a single catch-all metric to quantify the abilities of a basketball player. Matchups matter. The specific reason why the Kings struggle so much against the Pelicans is they have this specific type of defensive personnel to bother them at all 3 levels of their offense. So, it starts with the point of attack guys. Whether it's Herb Jones, or it's Dyson Daniels, or it's Najee Marshall, or it's Jose Alvarado, it is just a steady diet of outstanding point of attack defenders on Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox. Then, even if you do get switches, guys like Brandon Ingram and Trey Murphy are not slouches in that area. They've got the length and athleticism to at least do a decent job. I even thought CJ McCollum did a really good job on the ball in this game. Had several deflections. He was locked in. With how high they bring Jonas Valanciunas up in their drop, it's a doable job. And again, this is what I meant by when I'm talking about all 3 levels, because then you end up with this backside situation where it's Brandon Ingram or Zion Williamson or Trey Murphy, usually 2 of those 3 guys in any given possession. So I've got 6'9" athlete with long arms. I've got Zion Williamson, one of the most freaky athletes in the NBA right now. And I've got Trey Murphy, a 6'8", 6'9", long-armed freak athlete that are on the backside. And so those guys are just blowing plays up. Zion Williamson, once again, 2 possessions that he blew up as a low man. He reached in and ripped Keegan Murray on a play where he was coming out of the low man spot there in the out of the left corner. He had that play where I think it was, I'm trying to remember who was fronting, but there was that play where you saw Sabonis get the deep seal in transition. And I want to say it was one of the Pelicans guards, I think, that was fronting the post. And Zion's way up on the left wing. And Fox or Monk or whoever it is throws the over-the-top pass to Sabonis, and it looks like the side's cleared behind him. Zion just comes flying in from the wing and just snatches the basketball out from over the top. And that to me is what makes that defense so exciting, is it's like Zion has that kind of potential. He's got the anticipation, he's got the instincts, he's got the athleticism. Brandon Ingram and Trey Murphy bring that same type of disruption. And so when you've got that athleticism on the weak side and you've got that sort of point of attack personnel, you can afford to bring Jonas up in ball screens. This is the Denver Nuggets thing. Everybody's wondering, how is it the Denver Nuggets are getting stops when they have a weak rim protector? And it's literally because they can do whatever they want with Jokic. They can drop him deep. They can drop him up at the level of the screen. It doesn't matter because Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is getting over the top of that screen and he's applying back pressure. Christian Braun is getting over the top of that screen and he's applying back pressure, right? And then on the weak side, athletes like Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon are blowing actions up by anticipating and using their length and athleticism. And it has allowed them to not need Jonas Valanciunas to clean up all the messes. It's allowed the Nuggets to not need Nikola Jokic to clean up all the messes. And that's what's kind of interesting to me about modern defense is like you kind of have to be strong in two of your cores, right? One of the things, like the Lakers have been one of the best defenses in the league over the last, month or so. They've been top 5. And a big part of that is they have outstanding rim protection and their help defense has been good. The point of attack has been a little bit of a mess. Austin's a little rough. D'Lo's a little rough. You've been getting stretches out of Max and Cam, but it's been a little rough, right? But the weak side, the Rui Hachimura, the LeBron James, the Christian Wood, the weak side help and the rim protection of Anthony Davis has allowed them to be a great defense despite having below average point of attack personnel. And that's what's exciting about Jared Vanderbilt coming back is they could potentially then take a leap up to the next level from there. But I think it's an interesting example of that. Like if you have strong point of attack personnel and strong help personnel, you can get away with the weak rim protector. If you have, if you're excellent at the point of attack and you're excellent in rim protection, you don't even need to send a third defender into ball screens. And so now your weak side defense isn't as important. You guys kind of get the point. I think it's an interesting example of that. But this defense has given the Kings in particular a lot of issues. To give you an idea, in the 3 games against the Pelicans, De'Aaron Fox, who by the way has been playing like an MVP against everyone else, 23 points per game, 40% from the field, 19% from 3, and more turnovers than assists in 3 games. Malik Monk, 3 games versus the Pels, 13 points per game, 36% from the field, 38% from 3. They've consistently given this team issues. And then on the other end, I thought the Kings did a better job swarming Zion Williamson in this game, keeping him under control. In the first 2 losses, Zion Williamson just sliced and diced him. But this time, Brandon Ingram just completely picked them apart. 30 points, 6 assists. Kings got within 5, and then Brandon just took the game over. He hit like this really nice jab step pull-up jumper going left over Keegan Murray. Then he had this ball screen where he drew a second defender, Sabonis, up to the level of the screen. And it's actually this really cool possession where Jonas rolls and Harrison Barnes comes over and stands right under the basket and basically like takes away that easy roll pass. And Brandon, Jonas gives him a window that's kind of out to the side, and Brandon throws a beautiful pass that hits Jonas in that side so that he can just quick turn and shoot the hook shot over Harrison Barnes, who has no chance of blocking the hook shot. He catches it and makes it. I thought it was a really nice play from Brandon Ingram to get a high-quality shot out of a good defensive possession from Sacramento. And then it ended with just a simple double team. Brandon ISO out of the right wing, gets downhill, gets down to kind of like the dunker spot area, draws a second defender, makes a kick-out pass, hockey assist. Trey Murphy on the left wing knocks down the 3, and the game is over. But it was just methodical, beautiful shot creation from Brandon Ingram with excellent defense on the other end of the floor, closing things out. A couple of guys I want to shout out. Herb Jones, had 20. I'm trying to work on pronouncing names correctly, so please keep correcting me when I mess that up. Herb Jones had 23 points. Had a huge offensive rebound after the Kings. Malik Monk goes down, hits a pull-up 3, gets it to 5. And then the Kings have a great defensive possession and force C.J. McCollum into a tough step-back jump shot that he misses. But Herb Jones is just completely unboxed out underneath the basket, gets an offensive rebound put back, which is a lot of that's on the Kings, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then we talked about this when we covered a Pelicans game a week or 2 ago, but he's doing a lot of work putting the ball on the floor. He had a couple of huge possessions putting the ball on the floor in this game. He converted 9 spotted possessions in this game into 13 points. And I think that's just, again, with when you have that specific skill set that he has, which is he's an outstanding perimeter defender, right? When you have that, if you can be not just a guy who can knock down a 3, but also be a dribble, shoot, and pass guy, if you can actually be a connective piece in a drive and kick system, that just pushes your value that much higher. And that, that's the difference. Like Herb Jones, if he can get on that Jaden McDaniels track where he's got a little bit more of that off the dribble pop, it can just push him up to that next level and raise the ceiling of this team. And then lastly, I wanted to shout out Trey Murphy. I've been shouting out this type of guy around the league a lot lately. It's this, whether it's Sam Hauser, it's Duncan Robinson, or it's Michael Porter Jr., but like the taller spot up guy on the weak side has a little bit of off the dribble pop. and is hyper aggressive in catch and shoot situations, even when he's not really open. I think that brings a ton of value. Trey Murphy this season's 5 for 11 on guarded catch and shoot threes, which is a huge asset. Like he hit a couple of them in this game where it's like the guy's there and it just doesn't matter. And I think that having Trey Murphy back has been a lot. This team has potential to be really, really great with the defensive personnel that they have if they can continue to get high-level shot creation out of Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. On the Kings front, I don't want to overdo it because I think some of this is in their head. There were some good looks down the stretch of that game that they missed, some good catch and shoot threes that they missed. Sabonis smoked a lefty hook right at the rim that he shot way long off the back of the rim that would have cut it to 4, I think, down the stretch. So I think some of it's in their head. They were sloppy on the glass. The Kings have been the best defensive rebounding team in the league over the last month, and they just had a bunch of mistakes on the glass in this game. They gave up 13 offensive rebounds. So I don't want to overthink it, but I think one of the things you'll see happen in basketball is, especially with the bad matchup, a team will struggle with some of the mental elements of it. And you almost just kind of need to get the monkey off your back, right? You need to get a big win against this team just to kind of reset your confidence. And I'm not, now that they've played 3 times, I would assume because they're both in the West, they'll play at least one more time this year. But I think especially because you don't want to run into a playoff series with that problem if they were to catch each other in a matchup. And so I think it's important for the Kings to notch a win against the Pelicans at some point this season.